Hey guys, Luna here. Thanks for watching. So I hosted January 25th my first That Crypto Hustle meetup event here in Barcelona. So I wanted to make the video available for you guys. Now, quick warning, the sound is not amazing. There's some speakers you can hear better than others. I apologize for the following. We had gone to the venue and checked out all the equipment. So bear with us. I promise that the next event we'll make sure to have the following tighten up. But in any case, I still wanted to post the video because there's a lot of great information that you can learn from it. And most importantly, please click on the link below. It's a blog post that summarizes everything that was discussed during the event. All right, well, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you at our next meetup somewhere around the world. Bye, guys. Be able to, well, first of all, feel inspired from all these lovely panelists and come out of here with inspiration and, most importantly, new connections potentially. So before we get started, I'd like to ask some of you, who already has invested in cryptocurrencies, whether Bitcoin or altcoins? Please raise your hand. All right, a large chunk. Who is having panic attacks or sleeping disorder this last few weeks? All right, and who is looking to potentially start investing in the future and is here to learn more about the potential? Nice. All right. All right, cool. So, I mean, you're in for a treat today. First of all, I'm really thankful that all panelists were able to join us, and I'm going to introduce them in a second. But what we plan on covering today includes the possibilities of blockchain technology, and also, essentially talking about the fact that it potentially could be a revolution, like a technological revolution. And most importantly, what we're going to talk about, because I'm sure a lot of you are curious, is the overall cryptocurrency landscape for 2018, along with financial recommendations and more. So you're probably wondering who I am. So my name is Luna Vega, and I'm an e-commerce consultant, digital marketer, and crypto enthusiast. I've been embedded in the New York startup scene for quite a long time, and moved to Barcelona about a year or so, and absolutely love it here. I needed a break from New York City. So actually it's interesting because I learned about cryptocurrencies this spring when I was at an e-commerce conference. And a few of my buddies were super excited about their Bitcoin investment. Obviously, I had heard about Bitcoin, but they had like stars in their eyes. So I was just really interested in essentially, what were they talking about? And they were talking about different ICOs and other coins. So obviously, that night I went, started doing some research, and got caught up in the rabbit hole that is ICOs, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies. And beyond the financial aspect, which obviously is really alluring, I'm personally more interested in the ecosystem that is blockchain and ICO technology, and essentially what type of economy or possibilities it's going to be able to provide us. So essentially, we're witnessing a new paradigm. A new paradigm shift, which is completely going to turn everything upside down. And I'm not just talking banking, I'm talking the internet as we know it today. So my question to you is, how can we all benefit from this shift, right? And again, I'm not talking dollars in our pockets, because I'm definitely not a believer in quick, rich schemes. And I mean, I just think that it's just more than that, right? I mean, essentially we're in the cusp of a technological revolution. So, how can we create a way for startups, entrepreneurs, and us hustlers alike, a way to reclaim our power through decentralized technology? So that's my big question to you guys and also to the panelists. So this is why I created That Crypto Hustle. Essentially because I wanted to create a community, a podcast, and a go-to store for cryptocurrency hustlers where I can essentially, sorry guys. I lost my train of thought. It's all good. Yes. Well, essentially, no, what I wanted to do is like help spread the word about cryptocurrencies, because when I first learned about it, and I was asking people in my circles, like, yes, they knew it because they're embedded in technology, but beyond people in my circle, no one else really knew much about it. So because I know people in the Silicon Valley, in New York City, I just started doing interviews, and then also learning more about the community that was here in Barcelona. So not only did I want to spread the knowledge, because to me it's more than just like earning money through Bitcoin and whatnot, because to me that feels a little bit like a video game in some aspects, but it's more about how can we all help each other so we can essentially reach our goals, whether it's entrepreneurial goals, financial goals, personal goals, because this new technology allows us to do the following. So this is kind of like the big question that I want you guys to sort of think about, and obviously we'll talk more about the following with our panelists. So thank you so much for being here today, really appreciate it. And I also want to thank beyond our panelists, which I'm going to introduce in a second, is our sponsors. So first, Ikula, thank you so much for making this event possible.
Thank you very much, Luna, and thanks everyone for coming tonight here. I think it's a very interesting event that we all are interested in, ready to start, I guess. So this is the spam moment. I'm not going to make it last that much. As you see, maybe some of you, the first who arrived, saw a fish. This is our mascot. So when you see the huge drop of the Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency and you're really, really stressed, you can grab it, and it's an anti-stress ball, so that will be useful for you. This is also maybe a way that you will remind our brand. We are an internet service provider, and we like to support communities talking about technology and people who want to improve technology in all ways, and of course blockchain is one of those. So that's why we are here today sponsoring this event, helping Luna. And we are very glad. And this is the spam moment. If you are interested, is there anyone interested on data mining here? Or is someone doing it already? Yeah? Because at the end of the conference, we're going to make a lottery, a raffle, for a 3 months free specific server for data mining, a GPU with a GPU card, a very good one. And if you are also interested and you don't win the lottery, you also have a 20% discount for a server like this. So after the event, after the conference, we'll do this raffle. And nothing else. I give it the...
I also want to thank you, Ironhack, for providing us with the space to do this, especially since we had such a huge turnout. So I want to hand you the mic.
Thank you, guys. So thank you all of you for coming. We're really glad to be hosting this event, this huge event. I think it's one of the biggest ones we ever had. So Ironhack, we are a coding school. We have 2 types of courses, one for web development and UX UI, for people who want to learn from scratch, basically. The only thing we wanted to say also is that we have Meetup group, where we have many other events like those. So please join us and come many more times to this amazing space. That's all. Thank you.
All right, so let's get this party started. So first, let me introduce you to all the different panelists. Okay, and fell. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. All right, so Danny DeHaas, cryptocurrency investor and enthusiast. Lukas Polokowski, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Cryptocurrency trader. Daniel Rodriguez Lopez, academic director of the Barcelona Institute of Blockchain Technology and blockchain consultant, digital data analyst. And Robert Hastrop Timi, sorry if I completely killed your last name. Chief Visionary Officer of a blockchain company, an early adopter of blockchain distributed ledger technology. Robert has recently founded Blockchain Company, a new ecosystem that aims to help bring distributed ledger technology and cryptocurrencies closer to everyone. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Please, let's give them a big round of applause. So before we start diving in, I kind of want to sort of take things, essentially start talking about blockchain technology and sort of explaining the potential. So Danny, I'd love for you to sort of take a minute to talk to us more about the following.
Okay, so you listen to me well? Okay, so blockchain technology, it seems an easy question with an easy answer, but in the end, I think it's more than that. Actually, because blockchain has so many phases, has a lot of phases. You can interpret or understand blockchain from a social perspective, from an economic perspective, from a technological and technical perspective, also anthropological, philosophical perspectives. So it's like a technology that has too many implications with lots of sense. In the end, with all the society, okay? And it has come here to, I guess, save us from lots of things from the past, basically. And that's the one thing that maybe most of us makes that we feel patient about this technology. Because of it decentralizes, and it does one thing really good, which is make like a horizontal way for decision making. And the consensus thing is a great thing. Is that for me is the radical and the transgression of this technology is the way of doing consensus, an easy thing in an horizontal way and in a distributed, decentralized manner through internet, through all of us, in an egalitarian way, in a democratical way, in a thing that has never been an easy way of doing before and now it's possible. So this is like changing, it's a way of changing the rules of the game, and is here to make things better, ethically better, with so many limitations right now, and our like new ways of doing things better maybe than blockchain, but in the end, this essential thing is the way that makes blockchain like really interesting issue today, well, matter today.
So Robert, could you perhaps speak about some of the applications like that blockchain technology could bring to us?
Yeah.
I tried.
So it's great. We're very excited at blockchaincompany.info. So I kind of, so my background basically, I lived in Silicon Valley for quite a bit. Kind of partly grew up in California to some degree. So through Web 1.0 at Macromedia, and so I've just been following everything. And just dabbled here and there. And then when the blockchain started, I got into it about 2012, 2013, was when I first kind of like learned about it. And I live in Bristol, but I moved back to London, and where I'm from, born and bred. And then I used to go to like hackathon meetings, like anarchists in pubs and bars, and you just see people like us, literally, really, sort of like talking about Bitcoin. I mean, one guy used to come to where I was staying, and he would stay till like 5 o'clock in the morning, just talking about this fucking crazy currency, right? So that was really exciting. I didn't, well, unfortunately, like a lot of us, I missed the boat in terms of buying Bitcoin early, around 2012, 2013. But I did realise the potential of the technology. I realised that after listening to, I think it was named Gavin Andreessen of Google. And basically, they talked about the blockchain is the technology that's going to revolutionise everything. And they realised how Bitcoin, as the first application on the blockchain, could actually, that technology could be applied to lots of very different markets and verticals. And I didn't quite get it at first. Then one morning I woke up and I had this eureka moment. I get it! You know, and from then on, and obviously it was still early, but couldn't do anything about it. Anyway, I moved to Barcelona, which I thought, you know, Barcelona is an amazing city. I actually view Barcelona as the San Francisco of Europe. That's my perspective. That's what it reminds me of a lot, you know, pretty rad. And anyway, in 2016, once I realised the first ICOs that were taking place, that's when I knew that, okay, it's about to move, it's about to change. So I started a blockchain company and had the idea that could we build a platform like Google that would essentially bring blockchain to everybody, let everybody discover this new novel technology. So the way I want to think about blockchaincompany.info is, first of all, as a discovery platform. So if you imagine that Google helped us discover the web, yeah, in a way, they arranged organization. Now, but then Google went on and did something else. If I ask you guys today, what is Google? What does Google do, right? You know, Google has morphed into all sorts of things, AI, you name it. Now, we take the view, and I understood that the blockchain is going to create what I call a type 1 civilization, potentially, in our lifetime. What do I mean? If you think about all the technology that we've had, I believe that we have abused our planet. We run a very inequitable sort of like ecosystem in general. But the blockchain, I perceive it as an advanced kind of technology. However, Satoshi, whoever he is, she, they, doesn't really matter. I've got interesting ideas. Some people think Satoshi is AI. Could be, all right? Yeah, exactly. You know, it's possible, right? It's plausible. But anyway, the point is that this advanced technology, here's how I want you all to think about it. Imagine that when you look at the universe, and if you believe like I do, quantum mechanics, that there are all kinds of infinite civilizations that we don't see. But let's assume that there's a civilization that's only 1,000 years ahead of us, or 10,000 years of us. Try to think how they organize themselves. Then think about the blockchain as an organizing tool that would reorganize everything and make our world become more egalitarian. And that's just in a very simple way how I see it. And in that new world, we will use this amazing technology to fix a lot of the problems that we have. Waste, climate, finance, healthcare, and all of those things. So what Blockchain Company is aiming to do is we are going to be building insane applications on our platform. So the discovery platform is just to help you get closer to it. You can have a blockchain page of your own as well and start inviting friends, sharing all that content, but that's just the first phase. It's the applications that we want to build that we believe that all of us can use these applications or innovate these applications to help solve problems. It's the use case, and that's what we're excited about.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a really good point. But I think sort of what's coming into people's minds is like, well, what about the regulations, right? And isn't the government going to try to sort of come after all these blockchain technologies are coming to the market? So what's your answer to that?
Okay, so actually, I understand a few things about regulation as well, because I did work in the stock markets, I worked for Merrill Lynch and hedge funds and stuff, and a bit of law and legal and macro media. So I understand this whole idea about regulation, compliance, and all of those sorts of things. But here's the way to think about it. You have to understand that what's going on, we've now entered a kind of a parallel universe within our own planetary system. So don't be surprised if different countries will go in different directions. Like China, we know what China's doing. They're kind of like shutting down all the exchanges. South Korea is saying the same thing. But here in the EU, for instance, we're taking a totally different perspective with regulation. It has to be regulated. Regulation will come, and that's good for blockchain. However, the idea is that don't burn it before it, even give it a chance to blow up before you burn it, you know what I mean? So I think they're taking a cautious approach in terms of inducing regulation. And that seems to be how it's also in the United States. So I would say the EU in general and the United States are taking more of a cautious approach towards regulation. They understand at scale, the World Economic Forum, for instance, they've done all the research. The blockchain will be worth 7.8 trillion by 2027. So I'll talk about that a bit later on. So regulation is coming, but I don't believe that it will be draconian, per se.
Daniel, so can you speak to us a little bit about what you're currently working on and how, some of the innovations you guys are sorry.
Okay. Yes. Right now, this passion about blockchain takes me to work on academic direction. I think that there's a lot of talent today, as you guys, and there's a lot of talent on the internet. There's a lot of knowledge around, but we need to explain a history that comprehends all this new paradigm shift in a comprehensive way. I mean, there's not an easy way to understand what technology means for us, and all the terms that you mentioned previously, or the ones that they say too. And of course, there's too many implications, too many knowledge around, too many professionals that can be affected by this technology. So we want, and I really feel patient to explain this history in a comprehensive manner. So mainly, I'm now working in a project here in Barcelona, Blockchain Institute Technology, which we are trying to, in a huge effort, to explain all these paradigm shifts in a comprehensive way for all students, and also not just focusing on blockchain, but on DLT, okay? Because this is a disruptive change nowadays, and there are a lot of popping around lots of solutions in the design perspective that make sense for different verticals of different industries, and we really feel the necessity or the need to explain that in a comprehensive manner, and that's more or less my project right now, which we are focusing on.
Is there anything specifically you're excited about that you can share with us?
I feel like when you try to explain this, the same, you try to see the same that when you read this post of Satoshi Nakamoto or whoever he is in Peer-to-Peer Foundation, the first day that I read that, and it's like trying to explain the world at the same time that the financial crisis starts with Lehman Brothers, and at the same time that some corporations are dealing with our data for their benefits, and at the same time that WikiLeaks, for instance, pop around, or Anonymous pop around, appears Satoshi Nakamoto in a sense. So that's right. I really think that makes sense in historical context, in a macroeconomic, micro-societal context, and we try to explain that, and that's a project that for me right now makes sense. If you ask for me in a more programmatically project or applied way of doing some solutions that uses this technology, I would say, okay, understand it and explain that, and that's my project. That's not it's maybe not the answer that you are waiting for, but it's
No. So it's really interesting. I actually had an interview with Kurt Braggett, I think is his name. He's out of the Silicon Valley. And being an American and sort of what's going on politically over there is really interesting because I feel like a lot of the movement that happened when, and I mean I haven't been in the US, so I hope I don't get massacred for saying this, but I feel like it hasn't been as proactive as they were, like even though the Women's March happened. But it's really interesting because I feel like the revolution is actually happening all on the digital sector, and part of it is with blockchain. And so for me personally, what's really interesting beyond just the technology is the fact that for startups, it used to be, and it's become very hard to go directly to venture capital and raise funds. But now with ICOs, essentially it's a form of crowdfunding and enables you, I mean, of course, yes, there's a bunch of scams out there, we're aware of that, but if you look at it beyond that, it's a possibility for startups to essentially be able to raise capital strictly going to the source. So what's sort of like your vision about that? Like, are you involved in any of this, or maybe you want to answer that question? I don't know.
Okay. All right, yeah. ICOs, love them, don't you? I mean, you know, so like in Web 1.0, actually, one of my gigs, you know, we went through this kind of like VC, venture capital kind of raising period, and then the dot-com crashed, right? And then they backed off. But it wasn't really a very pleasant process, put it that way. Again, when we're talking about egalitarianism or the democratization of money, we can look at ICOs and we could say that it gives everybody a chance to participate in that new or next innovation or business or idea. Because you've got to look at it this way. All the stocks that you see listed on the stock market, actually, it's kind of a scam. I'll tell you what I mean. Now, when I was you know, a trader, for instance, I was shocked to find that if, say, for instance, you took, say, Google, Facebook, just as an example, Amazon, you will find that most of the people who were early investors in those companies are the same. What it is that they get to get in. We don't get in the very early stage, yeah? So they buy up all the shares, they get it like, say for instance, like a few pennies. Then they go through this process. By the time the company comes to market, you're buying what they got for a penny, you're buying it at $15. That's the IPO. So you can see that that's kind of an elitist sort of system. Now, so the ICOs is a very exciting time and moment for all of us. I will say, yes, of course, there's lots of scams. We know that.
Yeah.
But the way to look at that and try to understand that is that look at every paradigm in history. Go back to the tulip, right? You know, Wall Street. I mean, if you want my honest opinion, I think we're living in the crypto market. I think this is 1929. It's going to crash. I've written about this, you know, and stuff on LinkedIn and stuff. But it won't be like 1929 in the sense that it will rebound a lot quicker. When it crashes, it will just wipe away a lot of the scams, and then the big money will come in. Okay? But the whole point about ICOs, and when I say to people, get in, find value on, you know, through a lot of the ones that are listed on CoinMarketCap, start to think about cryptos that are building strong use cases, the usability. And, you know, within only 10 years, like my Apple phone, yeah, this is only 10 years old, this baby. When Steve Jobs came up there and he said, oh, I figured out a way how to make, you know, browsing seamless on the mobile phone. But look at it, he created a multi-trillion economy, okay? And don't forget, so we had, like you said, we had the Occupy Wall Street, the Lehman, after that, yeah? But what happened? Uber didn't exist in 2006. Uber is now, what, multi-billion-dollar company. So think about all these cryptos like that. There will be a lot of opportunities. So I think it's only just, but it's democratization of wealth.
Yeah.
And that's the way to think about ICOs.
No, most definitely. I agree. So, Lucas or Danny, I'd love to hear your perspective about the bloodbath that's currently, well, I guess it's going back up now. But what's your overall perspective? Do you think it's going to continue? And Yeah.
Okay. the things about myself.
Yes. Sorry.
No, we can make it later. Or... Okay, I'm Lucas. I'm 24 years old. I'm a mathematics student from Berlin, and I got included or invited into cryptocurrencies, unfortunately, super late in April of last year. This was the first time for me I've ever heard about Bitcoin and stuff, and it was like from the first beginning on, like super amazed of it, and like I always hated banks and I always hated the old financial system, and I thought it has to be something better than this. It can't be that we're living in the 21st century and we have the money system from the last century, and we have the internet, we have so many nice things. Why is our financial system not on this high step that other parts of our society are also? And with that technology, it was possible to join, even for like a normal person like me, to that and participate and make marketing about it or so. But I think now, to come to the question, we will not see the same increase this year that we saw last year. I don't think that we will see like Bitcoin going up 20 times, like by 2,000% or so, or Ethereum going up by, I don't know, what was it, 400 times or so. This is like, the percentage is like amazing. Everybody who sees cryptos think about like, ooh, if I started to invest in the beginning of the last year, I would be, if I put 1,000 in there, I would be a millionaire. That is what everybody here thinks, maybe. Like, or what I was thinking, like I started in April, I bought my first Bitcoin for I think 1,200 USD, and then it goes down by like 300 USD, and I was standing there with like a Bitcoin on 900 USD, and I said, okay, I saw it before. This is the crash. The crash now, it's like lost 30% of the value. I'm done with it. It's like impossible to make money of it. Like it's just a big scam. And then I waited, and it was completely different. But what I thought about when I invested in, I thought, okay, I go in with like 1,000 USD, and it would be super nice if it goes up at the end of the year by like, if it would be like 2,000 USD, that would be super nice. And the best thing I could imagine is that it goes up to 4,000. There was no way to see it going much higher than that. Then it did to 20,000, and I was too greedy and I wasn't selling my coins at that moment. But everybody said, like, if it gets 20,000, can you imagine it goes up by like
100K, right?
Yeah, but
you're actually not meant to sell them.
Yeah, that's
You're not meant to sell them.
Yeah.
What you're supposed to do is, you could, if you're a day trader, then by all means do that, but that's very stressful if that's what you want to do. So you guys have heard of Warren Buffett. So if you think of it like that, and maybe combine that, you will have a different outcome. So again, if you look at the macroeconomics, if Bitcoin, we believe Bitcoin could be worth $1 million a coin within 10 years. There's actually economics behind that with regards to the global supply of wealth in general. Then also you can look at it in terms of gold. Gold is 7.5 trillion. Okay. If Bitcoin is the new digital gold, and it was only worth, say, 5%, then it would have a value of about $25,000. If it took over gold at the same cap, it would be worth about $325,000.
Yeah, the thing is that at the end of the last year, I heard like so many predictions for Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up to at least 50K. Bitcoin goes up at least to 100K. Bitcoin, we will see 1 million, like in at latest 2025 or so. So many predictions. And then, like in December, when the future market arrives, and from that point on, it was possible for big financial investors to sell the Bitcoins that they bought in before and make bets on it, like going short. And like I sell my own coins on the real market, and I make contracts on the future market, and I say and I predict, okay, I think that Bitcoin will go down. I don't say like where it goes down, or maybe I do. Especially, I think in my head it's like functioning like this, that you can make bets on the one market, and you say, okay, I sell Bitcoins in the future market, and I have to to make the trade complete, I have to buy them cheap, unfortunately.
Well, that's what you almost want to buy them.
Before we talk about strategies, because that's like a whole other rabbit hole,
Yes.
I'd like for Jenny to introduce himself and just talk about how you started, and also, I mean, I guess start talking about your strategy, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm Danny, 25 years old. I'm Dutch, and I actually have a sales and marketing background, a bit like yourself. And I initially had a website affiliate, as probably a lot of marketing people do, just a little website, trying to make some money from affiliate marketing. But it was purely at that point focused on marketing and sales, kind of type of blog. And then, I started hearing, of course, already over the past few years more about crypto, and I thought, well, it will go away, and it's just a hype, and this and that. And I'm probably the least experienced from these guys here, so this is. And then initially what I did was I said, okay, well, let's start researching more about this, So I started, introducing, more cryptocurrency-related blogs into my blog. Started getting a lot more traffic, surprisingly. And that's really how I started getting more and more kind of, partnerships and affiliate, let's say, income in that sense. And by the way, the website is called Amsterdam, so Amsterdam. And that's kind of how I started with everything. I started looking then into investing in different coins, and made a lot of different mistakes. And I think for probably what I can maybe add value in this case is to really share my things that I did well, things I did bad, things to look out for. But that's kind of a bit of my introduction.
So what did you do well?
Well, that's I would say, if you're starting to invest, of course, first invest with the money that you can use. There's a lot of people that are selling, a lot of assets, and getting mortgages out, and it's a big, especially in the US. When I read those things, I thought, well, this is a bit crazy. But I would say, really believe firstly in the project that you're investing in. Do your own research. Don't really focus on what other people are saying. Also, the term FOMO, fear of missing out. That when something is going off, people start investing. They say, oh, they make a lot of money, which I'm one of those that was like that at the beginning. But I would say, really just understand what you're investing in, understand the project, believe in it, and also I think educate yourself. I initially bought also a lot of courses. Did a lot of courses. I probably still have a very long way ahead. But I would say educate yourself. Invest in yourself. I think that's the most important.
Well, what's really interesting about what's going on is that it's making finance sexy, right? I remember going to college. Like the last thing I wanted to do was take a finance class. And boring. But now all of a sudden, because of the appeal of become a millionaire, right? Bullshit. But in any case, yeah, so what's really interesting, I think it's just there's different levels of investment and there's different strategies, right? So there's the guys who invest in ICOs and they have ways of finding out before they even come out to get free tokens, so there's that strategies. There's the guys who are day trading shit coins and making profit out of that. Then there's the people who are just focusing on the altcoins and that also can get really stressful. And then you have the demographic who just sticks to Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I guess the first question I want to ask is, do we think Bitcoin's going to be here or the whole time, or do you think is there any way that another coin potentially could come to the market? Who wants it?
Something we can do about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Who wants that?
Okay. It's not a trivial answer, for sure.
Right. We don't know that.
Okay.
There are speculations.
But my hypothesis is that Bitcoin was the first application, okay, but has too many limitations. That's obvious, that's true. It has difficulties for scalability, which is, time to perceive transactions, time to validate transactions depending on consensus protocol, and this, for sure, does not compromise Bitcoin at all. Because depends if we think as Bitcoin like digital gold, doesn't matter if it's that's not fast, because gold is too much slow than Bitcoin. No, so doesn't matter. People say so Bitcoin is not fast. It's not so fast. Doesn't matter, because if you are comparing that to digital gold, because you are thinking that it's going up, close to gold value, so it should be slow. Perfect. So that's it. Period. So you have to be coherent with your theory. I mean, you cannot ask for Bitcoin to be fast, and you compare the speculative value of Bitcoin with gold. So maybe that's correct to be slow, you know. So, but that's an opinion. There's many opinions. Okay. Apart from that, I try to apply this comprehensive way of thinking to the rest of DLT projects or blockchain projects with coins. Okay, not all the coin or the token. First of all, you have to think about projects with for you are interesting because they are disruptive at the same time, the same way that Bitcoin was at this time, to change in a bit the design of the architecture or the structure of the DLT. I mean, for instance, Ethereum is interesting because in the future it will apply with Casper protocol this proof of stake. Okay, maybe that makes sense to you, and maybe this kinds of sort of the problem of scalability, and also with this written protocol, with at the same time in an off-chain way, makes your transaction go faster. Okay, so if you feel that that's interesting for you, go for it. Okay, and invest. Okay, that's fair. Or use the framework Ethereum for your your decentralized application. Okay. If not, go for another. The landscape is so huge, and if they are appearing, not just projects based on the. You see, when you see the landscape, you see like technological disruptive projects because the architecture is different and try to solve scalability issues, or applies well to Internet of Things way, or it's a patented or a permission blockchain or whatever, and this fits well with your company or with your future project, and so technologically are interesting, and all the projects are attached to this main framework, okay, and you can invest for them. In the end, there are not thousands, are just 5, 6, 10, okay, like Bitcoin or Ethereum or IOTA or iBlocks or whatever. And at the same time, you can invest not just on these ones that disrupt technology, but on the ones that disrupt socio-economical areas or industries. You know, for instance, maybe you are very interested in change the way that people learn, and you want to tokenize this ECTS, the European credit, blah 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 blah, from traditional system, and you say, okay, that's based on blockchain technology with proof of stake because framework of Ethereum is used to implement that, but I feel confident with this project because my philanthropic way of thinking is okay with that. So you have, first of all, to summarize, be coherent with your hypothesis, with this Bitcoin with gold idea, okay, and scalability and slow and fast, with all the projects, not just Bitcoin. And in second term, you can invest on technological disruptive projects, that are 10, 20, not thousands, and at the same time with socio-economical, political, philanthropic, disruptive projects, things that make the world better. And for me, that's a good portfolio of investment portfolio for you.
So, Lucas, when we spoke about the panel for today, you had a really interesting approach about your bets for 2018. So I would love for you to share that.
my alternative lists, what I would recommend this year.
Yeah, so let's talk about 2018 and what are some of the recommendations.
Let's let the last year okay. So for this year, I don't think that we will see that high increase of Bitcoin or so, and because the Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency, it's super nice. It shows us how nice blockchain can be and how it can work, and it was the first application, as you said, that blockchain created. But right at the moment, there are so many projects which are all cheaper, faster, maybe not more secure, but all of the other things, they're more scalable, they have better use cases, they have so many options that you can use on these currencies, much better for other companies to use. So if it comes to the use case, Bitcoin is, at the moment, it's pretty low. So it's just a store of value, just gold, just a backup for like when it comes to a crash or so, then this would be like the best value storage. But if everything is growing and if the people wanted to use that, they will choose other projects, I think. And now it comes to my things. For this year, we will see, I think, a high increase of Bitcoin Cash. Because in the past, Bitcoin was the thing that you have to invest into other companies. You need Bitcoin or Ethereum, otherwise you can't go to the ITO, you can't invest Euro, you can't invest USD. In an ICO, you need Bitcoin. So, but now Bitcoin gets more expensive, it's slower, and we have Bitcoin Cash, the biggest fork of Bitcoin last year, which is like if you want to send Bitcoin, if I want to send Bitcoin to you, I have to pay a fee of 20 USD. It doesn't matter what is the amount of money that I will give to you. If it's $1 million, I don't care if I have to pay 20 USD. But if I'm a customer and I want to buy an ice cream and I have to pay 20 USD fees for an ice cream which costs 1 USD, then then I can't use it for payments. So the use case is bad. Then I can use Bitcoin Cash. It has I think 10 cents for every transaction or so, maximum 50 cents or so, which is the maximum for every transaction that you can make. Which is super fast for the global thing. When I want to buy something in China, I can send some Bitcoin Cash there and it's immediately there, in the next block or so. And maximum 10 minutes. And then the money is there and I pay 10 cents for it. So it's nice. And I think for if you want to pay something, then Bitcoin Cash is the better thing. And few companies will announce it in the beginning of February that they will change their own system from Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash, because for little customers, it's if I only can invest there like 500 USD and I have to pay like 10% or 5% fees for a system that shouldn't have any fees, because that was the thing why I invested into Bitcoin, because it says like you will not have any fees, it's super cheap to send money, and now it was in the end of December, it was 100 USD, I wanted to log into my online wallet, and they said like, okay, because of the high traffic, Bitcoin can only like make 7 transactions a second. They said like there are 100,000 people waiting, and you have to pay 100 USD if you want to be in the next 10 minutes. And I was like, holy moly, no, I don't move my money then. And that's
you also spoke about trading in trading platforms. Investing in trading platforms.
Investing. Yeah, there are different ways of investing, and I think the platform coins and exchanger coins will increase super much this year, because people who want to join the market, they have to join an exchange to buy Bitcoin. Or I can buy it by private persons, but usually I go to an online platform, an exchange. I make an account and then I can deposit some of my national currency there, like in this case Euro. I put Euro in there and I can buy Bitcoin also. And these platforms, and they offer...
So like the Binance, the Bittrex, the
eToro, GDAX.
GDAX, yeah. So I take Binance. This is my favorite one at the moment. In my case, it's trading or automatically trading. So controlled by bots, and it's super nice that this exchange offers you a trading fee of 0.1%. But if you use it's super low for like making the trade.
What about decentralization of these exchanges?
Mm-hmm.
What about decentralization? these changes?
Centralization.
Decentralization.
No,
Yeah,
these ones are French.
Yeah.
And there are new ones appearing that use blockchain technology to propose the.
That's the thing. I was looking at it on CoinMarketCap, and all the exchanger coins are like staking coins, not mining coins. So it's, the risk is, it's another concept of consensus. It's not about working power. It's about the richest controls the system, which is not a nice upgrade from our system now. So it's not that nice, and it can be centralized. Like Binance Coin, I don't know if it's like that decentralized, because the exchange holds a lot of their own coins. They can make their price by itself a bit. And I think this is, the exchange has so low fees, like 0.05% if you use their coin, that now we come to the point that this exchange offers you 50% less fees if you use their coins. So if I buy Bitcoin, I have to pay fees, but I can buy Binance coins, store them, and if I want to buy anything on this exchange in any time in the future, I pay 50% less fees. So when I buy more than once, I would think about maybe it's worth it to have coins from them to pay less fees.
That's a great workaround.
It's good.
This is a good thing.
To not get fees.
Yeah.
Discount.
Okay, but it's hard to, the company can make shit out of it, and I was investing into Scam 2 last year. Could connect if anybody. But fortunately, I got my ROE, and then it was just a super big Ponzi scheme.
Wow.
Everybody noticed that before I noticed that, but I saw I got greedy. I thought it was August, and I thought this coin cost 10 cents in January this year, 10 cents, and now it was in that time at 50 USD or so. Yes, this is an increase by 500 times. Is it that, or 50 times?
Yeah, what do you mean price of it?
500 times. 500 times. But at the end of the year, it goes up from 10 cents to 500.
Yeah,
400 USD.
Yeah, $460. Yeah.
But the company made the price up by for the coin, and they manipulated all the markets, and this is a super hard thing. That's why we need regulations, because with regulations, scams like that are not possible anymore, and there are institutions who check the companies and say okay, this is not working, this is not legal.
I would think that even with regulation, you're still going to have scams anyway. Because if you look at Wall Street, I mean, you've heard of Enron, and a lot of those companies were scams as well, and they're still there. So there will be scams. I don't think we should confuse that with this.
You will not get everything out, but
absolutely not.
A bit more than
there will. Even in the normal economy, the fiat economy, there's more scams. So that's just part of human nature.
Yeah, this is a nice thought, that also fiat currencies are a Ponzi scheme if you look from a higher point of view. Then it's also a twist from the trust that people give into it. If nobody in the room will trust euro anymore, then the paper that says 10 euro is not worth 10 euro, because we don't trust that paper. Because we think there's a company who can print the papers as much as they want and make our money worse. That's what happens with every fiat currency since 1920 or so. This is super bad thing, and when every normal customer or every normal money user like us, when we store money, then we lose money, because there are companies who print money and make it less worth. What I can buy now with 10 euros, I can't buy the same things in 1 year with 10 euros. Probably not. So, bad thing. Other coins that I would recommend to invest are exchange coins and platform coins. Platform coins are Ethereum is the most known platform coin, platform for starting your own ICO, for making your own coin, for bring your idea in the blockchain world. So you don't have to write your own blockchain by yourself. You can use a platform that helps you a bit with the technical details behind of it. And you need the platform coin to buy the other coins, or you need the platform coins to get bounty things, bonuses or stuff. And the platforms will support their own coins strongly in this year, I think. And I see a big potential of a lot of new ideas maybe here in the room. And
Danny, could you share like what your rankings are? Like, I'd love to hear. What are your feelings about Tron? Is it a scam or is it?
I mean, there's so many opinions. I don't even know what to believe anymore. So.
Right. So can we talk about that? Because I feel like there's so many like different. Like it's so hard when you start like going through Twitter, your Telegram, and all the different sources. Like, who do you believe? I guess your gut, huh?
Like, I would say, like, for my, and this is just disclaimer, this is just my approach to do it, so don't copy anything or copy
I'm not a financial advisor.
Yes. In 6 months, say, I lost all my money. But what I would say is, you know, if you're starting out, you know, just look at on CoinMarketCap the first 10 coins that you see, and don't, I think on a daily basis there are, how many coins are coming out? Like,
I mean, on the top 100, you will see all of a sudden, I look at the top 100 in general, and you will just see new coins that will just come in. You know, they probably be flirting around in the top 200, but all of a sudden they just get the top 100. And there's some scale there, but again, you have to look behind what lies behind it.
Exactly, yeah. So what I would recommend is anybody that is starting off, firstly just look at the top 10. Go into each of the different coins, study them, see, look at their white papers, see really who are the people behind the company, study the project, but also believe in what they're actually doing. Think about, okay, is this really going to be something that's going to revolutionize the world? That kind of mentality. But also think about, you know, what have these people done in the past? Have they got what kind of experience do they have? So I think that, you know, that's very important. And then based on that, you know, make a good judgment of what you can miss, and invest in the ones that you see that are fit. Don't go and look up any random ICO and then, you know, it could be a scam or whatever, you know, like.
I haven't heard of people making a lot of money investing in random coins. They're like, oh, I was drunk and I just bought a bunch.
I guess this is just a small percentage in the world, you know, that get that. But what I would recommend is if you're starting off, you know, just approach it that way, you know. At the end of the day, don't believe what anybody's saying. There's many influencers, many people that are on Twitter, probably also get paid to say good things about some coins. Yeah, so I would say, you know, that's what I would just recommend. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. Anything else to add?
For me?
Oh, go ahead.
Of course, each of us has its needs and so, but for me it's really interesting to take a look on market capital crash. There are some readings about that market capital is not interesting, and for me it's like really illustrative, but in the end. You can take a look on that, and at the beginning you will see like when market capital goes down, okay, in MinerCap you can take a look of all the coins together, and you take a look at the beginning and you see like when market capital goes down, like no other coin is going up. Now you are seeing like a reverse in that. That means like people trust in that and prefer to not change by euro or USD, but stay in the coin, in the cryptocurrency area, you know? That's really relevant because it means that it's a more moderation of the crypto economy, because people is not investing and then goes out and reserve money in euro and dollar again, but remains in that. So maybe Bitcoin is going down and then Ethereum is going up. That's because you are changing, and this doesn't mean that Ethereum is going to be the better or the best, but in the end means that there's a moderation. So taking a look on market capital is interesting because of that, and also take a look on logarithmic better than linear, because it's like more illustrative. Linear is like fallacy. It's like you are seeing like lots of jumps from one value to another, but it's not real. You have to take a look on percentual ratios, not absolute values. That makes you feel more connected with the value changing of cryptocurrency. But there's two tips. Maybe you have different ones.
Good point.
Okay, so I'm going to contradict a few things here, as I talked about. The reason why is because, just so that you understand, first of all, with blockchain company, we look at a lot of information, okay, in order to actually curate that content. So in a way, you actually kind of gauge the psychology of the marketplace in terms of what's going on. And then also, just thinking of myself, my background in the financial markets. I worked at Goldman Sachs at one point, Merrill Lynch and so on, and I used to be a day trader. And if you want to know the truth, my uncle gave me $25,000, put it in my account, and I lost all the money. But I did make a lot of money as well. At one point I was making like £1,000 a day. But I was trading derivatives, yeah, and I was really kind of doing a lot of bets. But I learned through all of that, yeah. And then at Macromedia I was a stock options analyst, so I kind of learned a lot of different styles of trading and understanding the psychology of markets. So I will say to you this, on the 3rd of January I wrote an article on LinkedIn. I like to write a lot on LinkedIn, and I wrote an article based on a very uncanny observation that will contradict some of the things going on. But I understand most people don't understand this. But if you're from Wall Street, you will get it more. Okay, so I wrote that Cardano, right, is Cardano the sign of a huge market crash about to happen? I wrote that on January the 3rd of this year. Why? Think about it. Cardano has only been trading for 4 months. In 4 months, it's experienced growth. It's a $33 billion company in 4 months. It doesn't even have a product. It's just got a roadmap. Yes, it's got some interesting people, but come on, guys. Right? You know, if you want to believe what you like to believe, okay? But that it's not a scam. And it's not their fault, okay? It's just that, again, you know, the marketplace, the euphoria in the marketplace, and a lot of what we call odd lot investors. I wrote another article. Odd lot investors are just the crowd, people like us, who may not be as sophisticated, but let's face it, it is true, it's a good time to make money. But you have to understand, like I lost all that money, you can lose it as well. Okay, you don't know what you're doing. So I predicted that that by March, that I anticipate the market will crash. And guess what happened? Well, you know what happened on the 17th. If you go and look at Cardano very carefully, as an example of several of them, it started trading, if I'm correct, let's just say at less than 10 cents back in September, October, when it first introduced into the market. And it went all the way up from a market cap of 1.5 million all the way to 33 billion. So there you go. If you think that that's real, then what you have to do is you have to do the mathematics. You would understand then that Cardano will be $1 trillion company, you know, market cap within the nick of time.
That's only one example.
And that's just one example. So here's what you have to realize. We are in a period where none of what you see makes any financial sense, except for maybe one or two. That takes me back to Bitcoin and Ethereum. But before I explain that, understand that there is no fundamental analysis, you know, earnings. There's no real products. Most people are still developing their products on their roadmap, okay? So you can't just, there's no real ROI, return on investment. But it's okay to gamble. There's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to, you know, you have to just not live the illusion of gambling. Yeah, right, I'll make a bit of money, yeah? Okay. Now, the reason why Bitcoin and Ethereum stand out, just before that, actually, I'll tell you something very quickly about Cardano. Cardano's working on proof of stake, yeah? Cardano founder, he was a co-founder at Etherium. Now, you will all know that Ethereum is also going to try to move to proof of stake. But if you go and read my article, I argue that proof of stake, right, based on Cardano's idea, and to a certain degree, Ethereum, it's an unintended consequence Ponzi scheme. Let me explain. Think about it this way. Value is created through scarcity. What makes Bitcoin worth what it is because it is scarce. You can only mine 21 million. But then, guess what? There's another thing you need to think about. The mining algorithm, the proof of work, is what gives it its value. You have to solve a mathematical problem using your computer. Yes, it burns energy, but I'll come to that in a moment. Those are the things, the scarcity, the mathematical algorithm, that's what gives it its value. And that's the reason why it is becoming the new gold store of value. It won't essentially be used for payments, but let's keep that into perspective. Now, proof of stake, here's how it works. Any of you can stake your coins without doing any real work. All you do is just, the algorithm will just randomly pick you or you or you. Or if it recognizes that you have more coins than I do, it can pick you, and then you stake your coin and you get more coins. There's nothing wrong with it. Cardano, and you guys doing this, what's it, right? Ray blocks and all of them, what's the other one, IOTA, I'm just laughing. Honestly, in my opinion, you will make money from them. I'm not saying that they won't work, but by comparison to Ethereum, which is still on proof of work, and what's it called, Bitcoin, if you notice, Bitcoin mining is growing massively. Okay, there are a lot of people that are going into it. We know that energy is a problem, but let me put it to you this way: Elon Musk would know how to solve that. Would you agree? Exactly. Through time, it's the same thing. That's what Steve Jobs did. Look, go back to Web 1.0. You couldn't use your mobile. Oh, well, you want to surf the internet. That's a joke. It didn't work. You couldn't stream video the way we stream video today. But smart people like Steve Jobs came along and solved that problem. I'm telling you, in fact, what we're working on, I've got a few ideas of how we can solve the problem of proof of work and make it somewhat cheaper and the scalability issue. So what I'm just suggesting here is that bear that in mind in terms of valuation of a lot of these companies that have no earnings, no real products, so that's where we are. In the future, it will get better. Once they start developing their products, they will have earnings and so on. Then you'll see the real valuation. Now, Ethereum, to answer your question that you asked, which one do I think is going to be the big one this year? I'd actually put my bet on Ethereum. And the reason why, I do believe Ethereum could overtake Bitcoin, but again, don't forget, put it into perspective, they're just doing different things. Because Ethereum is creating the platform that allows us to build all these new applications that are going to help change the world, that's what gives it its value. Yeah, so that's the way I look at that. And because Bitcoin is based on that scarcity and the mathematics makes sense, that's the reason why Wall Street is interesting. So I'll say this in closing. What I said in my article and in another one that I wrote is, I use a lot of what's called support levels, reverse marketing and so on. I could tell that if Bitcoin breaks through 15,000 and closed below 15,000, it was obvious that it's going to 10,000. Now we've seen it reach the 10,000 level. It hasn't quite closed below 10,000, but look out for that. If it closes below 10,000, it should head to 5,000. If it closes below 5,000, I reckon we could see Bitcoin go all the way down to about 1,800, 800. But hang on, don't sell. Think long term. In fact, if anything, if you've got money parked aside, buy more. Average down. That's what you do. That's how you make real money. Okay? Because guess what? Shall I tell you why? Wall Street, what they're doing is this. It's called fair value. They're simply waiting for the right time to come in, to step in. The banks are going to step in, the insurance, the fund managers, hedge fund. So they're just looking for fair value. We think that fair value is somewhere between 5,000 to 8,000. Once they step in, baby, this thing is going to go crazy. But it would rocket in a more orderly way because we've got the futures and NASDAQ is also coming on board. So what I'm just saying here is that over time, you will start to see a very orderly market, and I think all of us will have a much better time sleeping at night.
So I want to open up the floor. Anyone has questions? Yes? Over there?
You did answer the question about
Oh, Tron. Somebody wants to ask. Is it a scam?
Well, it's that entertainment kind of thing, right? Yeah. I can see scam, mate. Again, I mean, some of it, to be fair, a lot of it is actually unintended. Just as to me, people don't essentially deliberately go out there to do that. Yeah, it's just the environment that we're in. Because if you look at Tron, IOTA, Roblox, they're all kind of Cardano. They're all kind of really similar, really. Do you know what I mean? Ethereum is the superior one. It has scalability problems. So think about it a bit like that. That doesn't mean, though, that that they couldn't, modify themselves. So we don't know. But for now, it's not what I would put in my portfolio. I'll give you one that you should think about, and I'll tell you why. Have you guys heard of Kik? Kik, the messaging.
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So Kik. It's kind of like a WeChat. It's like a Telegram.
In South Korea, right?
No. It's American.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's kind of like a messaging social net. Sorry. It's Canadian. Yeah. There you go. Right. Now, Kik, they had raised $50 million already. They've been around for about 3-4 years or something. Now, the CEO, he was one of the first to come to the crypto market, to kind of pivot to the crypto market. So they already have about 50 million users, as an example. Now, what I'm saying there is that, to me, that is an example of a company that gets it, that's saying, okay, we want to come into this new world. We already have a team. We've raised some money before. We've got some experience. You could buy kin. I got some kin. I only bought kin for I spent about maybe $200 that I had, and I got about 400,000 kin. Now, but look at it this way. If you look at the momentum in the market, and you go back to Cardano, remember Cardano was less than 10 cents? It hit $1 or whatever it is now. Exactly. Same thing with Ripple. So what's going on in the market is that people are just pumping and dumping because they're buying these penny coins, okay, with a view that a lot of them will just hit $1. And to a great degree, that is true. Okay?
But you make a lot of money doing that.
You'll make a lot of money doing that. But you can take another long-term perspective. So I'm taking like a 3-5 year perspective, looking at something like kin, which you could buy for just a few pennies, right? Less than a penny. You could buy them, you could sit on that for 3-5 years, take the view that this management know what they're doing, the environment will change within 3-5 years, and guess what? That $300 for about 400,000 coins, guess what? That could be worth $1. That's another way of looking at it, right? So that's basically, look at fundamentals, look at the team, look at the management, think about the products, and the future.
Or just be like 50 cents and have, what was it? The article that came out today?
Yes, I saw
He
it.
had, I guess you could buy his album for Bitcoin, and he forgot he had Bitcoin. Apparently he had like 400 Bitcoin or 700? So $500,000.
Yeah, $500,000, there you go. And I mean, even people like 50 cents, there are going to be a lot of people like that who will even launch their own coins. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and I think we'll start to see that by the end of this year.
Any other questions? Yes?
What's your take on Monero? This kind of private ones.
Yes. It's also, I think the private coins have really good predictions in the next years when we see more regulations and people trying to. At the moment, we have a lot of criminals and they're money laundering people, and a lot of people, they know that they take advantage of the opportunity that they have, that they can invest there, have some venture capital, and then in some ways put it out. And that's why we need regulations to stop people holding them from them away. And I think it's like only normal then when we see regulations that people will try to hire their transactions, hide them, and will change maybe to anonymous coins like Monero, Dash, stuff like that. And I think these coins have the most potential. I've heard a lot that nations want to make their own digital coins. Like South Korea also, they plan, this is not the only country which is planning their own virtual currency. And then on that level, when we have virtual currencies, I think these will not be private. Every national currency will be not private, and people have a right for privacy, and I think that's why no government would make a privacy coin. So not even Switzerland or so. That's why I think these coins will survive, even if we have all digital coins and stuff, no euro, nothing more. I think these have a really good, value storage.
I think that Monero will survive, like you said. I think perhaps the only difference is that they would probably, once the regulation starts to kick in, they will then have to revisit their KYC AML rules. That will most certainly apply. Because I think that again, when I talk about that orderly market that's coming, so I think that even Monero and whatever, those kind of like hide your money kind of crypto platforms will have to kind of like somewhat change their KYC. But they will, it is what it is. They use a lot of those kind of coins. You might argue that drug dealers might think that that's the best place for them to hide their money. But that said, though, even in the markets, hedge fund managers don't always want to reveal what they're doing and so on. So I do think, I would agree that Monero has a great future. It's supposed to be very good technology, actually.
Any other questions?
Sorry?
Yes?
I can say something about
Monero?
Yeah, not just Monero, but this argument about the privacy of your monies or your money laundering and so on. Because I think that if we think in the context of the future, and we are thinking about tokenization of societies, okay, we have to think more about tokening all the things that you can imagine. Imagine that you can token your agenda for the dentist. Imagine no, the dentist cannot say that you are going another day and because an error of the system change your agenda because you are the owner of your day. Or that can happen in the future if it is not possible to go with that. And maybe you can token your wellness or your education level or whatever. So that's not about money laundering. It's more about being private about your sensible information. Because now we are like just sharing all the likes and stuff that we are doing in Facebook, in Instagram, and whatever. And that doesn't matter. All the transactions about our likes are around. You know, what's the point with, or what's the issue with sharing whatever that we want to share? So not just about Monero, it's more about in the future what we want to share about the token or whatever in the society context we want to share. You know, in the context of money, okay, maybe we want to not share this information, or maybe yes, maybe some people has no worries with sharing this account in wallet. So I think that it's not a matter of privacy.
I actually think that you're right. That I think that a lot of these protocols will become even more private. I mean, right now everything is. I mean, Ethereum is very public, but even Ethereum has got they've got that private Ethereum alliance because a lot of banks, they can't just make everything public. You wouldn't want to, So I think we'll see more Moneros in a way. Do you know what I mean? In that, but with KYC, I think. Yeah.
Your questions?
I really like your point of view, like maybe you don't see something, but you wrote this paper technology because the trust is high. So I would like to know what's the trust behind Bitcoin, because when you create the economy, you need to have something regarding borrowing and lending. However, Bitcoin, one of its traits is scarcity. It's like gold. So how you can overcome this trait and how you can do functionally like what the currency management, like borrowing, lending, create economic. I know people trust this because they feel like individually they can earn money, but we want to break the world. So we want to know what else this thing can do that we can get more money.
What else can it do? Well, so actually, I was reading Outlier, and it had like a really interesting chapter about the different economies. So the feudal system in Europe versus in Asia, it never took over. And the reason being is that the rice crop is more labor intensive than the crops in Europe. So there was never a feudal system because of that reason. And what's really interesting and what's happening now is that I think we work way more, like having had a corporate job, we work way more and we put a lot more hours than perhaps our parents did, right? And I think that's why like entrepreneurship and wanting to be your own boss, like I think that's why like we all want to have a bigger piece of the pie, because we're like, well, I'm burnt out and I'm working all these hours, like how can I get a bigger piece of the pie and get like better profit of it? And so that article, that chapter was really interesting because it spoke about that, like the landlords in Asia, they could only ask for X percentage of the rice crops versus sort of having complete takeover. So for me, in a weird way, like cryptocurrency, I see it as sort of our revolution, where we're like, well, no, we don't want to be part of the system. We want to create our own revolution, and we want to have the capability of having owning our own currency, if you will. So, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, we want to go more high level.
I would say that, as I said, one of the things that we're very excited about at the blockchain company is that all companies or entities become blockchain companies. And what does that mean? It means democratization of everything, potentially. To put it into perspective, for instance, so today we go to the polls, we vote for politicians. Politicians are human beings like us. But, what I'm arguing here, or what I'm suggesting here, is that within 10 years, you probably wouldn't really have to do that anymore, because the blockchain, so try to defocus from Bitcoin. The reason, what people are interested in is the blockchain, that underlying technology. So therefore, within 10 years, you will use that technology to cast your votes. But that vote will be on a kind of smart contract. The smart contract will say, oh, Donald Trump, you said that, you're not going to build that wall, but you went and built it, so you're out. Do you see what I'm saying? So the smart contract will invoke what you said you will do. And that's very democratizing. No longer would we have to just rely on, people saying that we'll do this or we'll do that. So that's one of the things that we're excited about. And then, most specifically, if you can use the blockchain, that technology, to solve real fundamental problems, i.e., for instance, I'll give you one very quick example. Did you know that with waste, there is a lot of waste destroying our planet? The creatures in the sea are dying. They're eating our garbage. And our garbage is even ending up on your table. Yeah? We can use the blockchain to make corporate responsibility, the plastics, the bottles, the cans, all of those companies can put their supply chain on a waste blockchain. That's one of the things we're trying to work on, and so on. And you will know who's doing what, where it's ending up. So again, that's another way of how all of this is going to affect everything.
Any final questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if you knew about Hashgraph.
Oh, yeah. So, do you think Hashgraph could revolutionize?
Yes. We have mentioned Raid blocks and IOTA and Hashgraph and so. I think there's a huge landscape and there's enough room for all solutions, and there are more solutions coming. So for me, the important thing is to understand all the designs, all the architectures, and you have the mental models to design your own solutions based on DLT. Hashgraph is one patented one. It's an hybrid between RAID blocks and IOTA, okay? But it is mining-less, okay? You don't need miners. It is fast, and it is like a direct acyclic graph solution. It's not based on a linear way with a blockchain behind it, so it's more like nodes connected and so. And this is a really great point because of it is fast, the same as IOTA, the same as RAID blocks, and it has no problem with consensus, okay? But at the same point, okay, it's a patented solution, so it's not as public and has no token inside. It has no coin. So it's like a design solution, an architecture solution that maybe fits well for your project, okay, in the future, because now it's like a proof of concept thing. You can implement similar things which are free in the sense of no commissions or no fees, fast and with no manual required. So you can use IOTA Tangle, you can use rate blocks, and for me, we say previously, okay, Ethereum is the best. Well, it's the best for its context, for its purpose, but maybe for the purpose of machine-to-machine communication or IoT, Internet of Things, you can go on with IOTA or rate blocks because are way better than blockchain limitations of scalability. And for me, in the future, and linking with your arguments in this coming future, we as humans should stop decide nothing. Okay, we need to rely on technology. Normally back it up by people nowadays. Okay, so it's a kind of central decentralization nowadays because no governments but community of programmers are like ruling the system right now. Okay, in this context of utility, but machine to machine and Industry 4.0 are here to stay. Okay, because you can imagine like this micro can interact with this speaker. Okay, and go like transactions between them the way I'm talking. Okay, and maybe this belongs to a corporation or all of you, okay, gets tokens because of listening. You can think about that, okay? It's feasible with that technology, okay? Imagine that implemented with IOTA, for instance. And the way that we try to apply this to society makes the human better and makes our planet better for the future, because if not, we are totally destroying that, okay? But, and there's one last point, which is interesting, and Vitalik Buterin, for instance, a lot of time talk about that. You know, this layer 1, okay, there are different layers in a blockchain or a DLT. You have layer 1 and layer 2. Layer 1 is like the transactions layer, okay, and layer 2 is like off-chain transactions, these Raiden or Lightning Network solutions, which are fastest and so. But you have an interesting one, which applies more to societies, which is layer 0. And layer 0 is like the government of the meta government for the DLTs. And it's really, really interesting because programmers and so on thinking about the rules that are governing the DLTs or the blockchains. And because of that, then appears the forks and so on. So there's like not a parallel economy, but a parallel government nowadays in the blockchain. And this is really, really beautiful for me. And it's the way that future societies are ruled. And this is layer 0. Take a look at that because it's like a similar or more practical way to understand what you are trying to explain with this way of controlling waste inertia and so. It's the way that we control the technology that controls our wasting materials, for instance. And no, it's Hashgraph, but has to do with all of this because in the end it's like making parallel solutions for the kind of things that society are destroying right now.
And that's what's so exciting about the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency. It's not just about making money and making quick buck, it's about the technology in itself and all the possibilities that it provides for us. So I'd like to give our panelists a big round of applause. And I encourage you to check out, so I have a Facebook group, it's called Crypto Hustle. It's kind of a cliff note, if you will, of everything crypto. So I have a team who's going through sort of all the signals. I also interview on a weekly basis different experts from all around the world. So I encourage you to join that group. And if you have any feedback, come talk to me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want a shirt, 10% discount. Thank you, guys.